Brodes Media.
Oh, do we have a doozy for you today? Hey, before we get into it, though, if you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate all of your loving support, and you can take me on the road with you. That's right, baby. This voice in your car with your wife screaming, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. It would mean the world. Just search Sports Talk with Brodes. You'll find it instantly. And lastly, there are memberships here on YouTube, and you get access to Coffee with Brodes. We do our live streams right here on YouTube where we kick back and have our coffee together, and you also get access to our Discord channel where we get to communicate. All the information is down below in the description. Thank you guys all so much and enjoy the show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. Today's show is going to be titled "The Worst Phillies Takes I've Heard Since the Series in London." Because, man, oh man, do we not recognize that the Phillies are probably going to lose some baseball games, and they probably have another 45 losses to come. If you can't handle that, God bless your soul. So, honestly, there's been so much controversy over the last 24 hours. I'm a little taken back, which maybe I shouldn't be. I understand we are a very passionate fan base. We want our baseball team to be great, but they are not a perfect baseball team because there's no such thing as perfection over 162 games. I'm okay with having some opinions at, I don't know, hypothetically, let's pretend a game that starts at 10 a.m. wraps up around 1:30 in the afternoon. If at 1:35, 1:45, 2 o'clock, you feel obligated to let some steam off your chest, so you say some things about what just happened, you're not happy that they blew a save, you're not thrilled on how the game ended, even though there was a broken bat and an absurd double play that went down, it is what it is. I understand in the half hour to an hour after the 9th inning, you get things off your chest. What we can't do is after you fall asleep, after you have a cup of coffee, after you freshen up your mind, take a shower, throw some soap around the genitals, okay? There's no way in hell you should be so fired up that you demand Dave Dombrowski to trade Jose Alvarado, that you believe Rob Thompson doesn't know how to manage anymore, and the list goes on and on and on. And I don't think that this is just a loud minority. I was on with Ashlyn Sullivan 4 to 7 o'clock p.m. on Sunday, so it was, maybe 5 hours after the entire London experience was over. I thought we'd be fielding calls talking about how you sort of soaked in the weekend and what you thought about the London stuff, and would you want the team to do it again? Would you be interested, hypothetically speaking, if finances weren't a big part of it, which it is, of course, but I'm aware that not everyone is capable of just spending X amount of thousands of dollars to make this trip, but did it intrigue you so much? And did you see a lot of your Phillies fans and others around the city that went having such a good time? Would you ever feel obligated to make a trip if the Phillies get that call again? Things like that. Fun stuff. Instead, I wanted to legitimately blow my brains out because it was nonstop. This team is garbage. This team doesn't have a good enough bullpen. What do you mean they don't have a good enough bullpen? There's barely any teams in the entire league that have a bullpen as great as the Phillies do. And then, you hear people say, well, they're actually not good. What makes them good is the starting pitching goes 7. Yeah, there's a correlation between starting pitching going deep and your bullpen doing well, but there's also something called greatness in your pen. And if you don't recognize that there are actually really good bullpen arms in there, Matt Strahm is great because Matt Strahm is great. Wait for this. Jose Alvarado is great because Jose Alvarado is great. He had a bad day, but listen to these stats, and it's courtesy of Corey Seidman, and this flows perfectly into the worst Phillies take I've heard since London. Alvarado is way too shaky and doesn't know how to close games. He has blown 3 saves in 2 years. I'm going to say that one more time. He has blown 3 saves in 2 years. So what's the bar? Is it Brad Lidge? Because I hate to break it to you, that's not normal. That's not the standard. That's not what most teams have, is a perfect season. Okay. He has allowed 0 earned runs. Not 1, not 2, not 3 earned runs. He has allowed a whopping 0 earned runs in 102 of 121 appearances. And by the way, that would be 7 of 8 scoreless playoff appearances. 0 earned runs in 7 of 8 playoff appearances, on top of his 102 appearances in 121 attempts. We will continue. In the last 3 seasons, it's a lot of baseball, it's a lot of pitching. He has a sub-3 ERA, a 2.63 ERA. And in his last 28 appearances, he's got a sub-2 ERA, actually a sub-1.50 ERA. Jose Alvarado is a damn good relief pitcher who blew a save. If you can't handle that, then I'm not sure you can handle the sport. Because the sport, unfortunately, calls for some disappointing relief pitching, even from the best relief pitching in baseball. So what we need to do is calm down. All right, so that's number 1. Let's get to number 2 of the worst Phillies takes I've heard since the weekend. Rob Thompson does not know how to manage. So this is what I received at the very, very tail end of the show. It was about, I think we break at 6:55 was the hard out, so Rob Cherry could take over at 7. It was around 6:43 I took this call, and it went something along the lines like this. Well, I'm going to call back in October when Rob Thompson pushes all the wrong buttons and we blow saves and we lose because of him. So it's a combination of Rob Thompson doesn't know how to manage and the bullpen is probably going to blow it. It was a combination of both. And this was my counter argument. Well, there was a few. It was, find me a manager since Rob Thompson took over from Joe Girardi that has more success than Rob. Now, sure, there was a champion crowned. And yes, we did see the Texas Rangers win a title. And if you're going to put that over Rob, then by all means, you have the power to do so. I won't knock that thought process at all. But my point is, good luck finding more than 2 if you want to start really dissecting this thing heavy. There's not many managers with more than what Rob Thompson has done since he's been given the keys to the Phillies organization. So what are you going to demand? What else is there? You know what I'm saying? Like, there really isn't anything better around Major League Baseball right now than Rob Thompson. But let me continue here. Because this individual claimed that I would be receiving a call when the Phillies fail and fall flat on their face because Rob picked the wrong bullpen piece and their bullpen stinks anyway, so they will absolutely blow game. Well, I mean, what if they succeed? Hear me out for a second. What if they succeed for 6 games in a row? So they close out 6 games. Whether it's a 1-run game, whether it's a 2-run game, a 3-run game. What if somehow in this playoff run they have 6 consecutive saves? And then Rob Thompson, for the 7th game that is, not the 7th inning, the 7th game, goes to Hoffman, and Hoffman blows it in the 9th, and they lose. You don't get to fucking call me. You don't get to fucking call me and forget about the 7 in a row or the 6 in a row where they succeeded. This is how baseball goes. It's just what it is. I'm more aggravated that Rob didn't go to Matt Strahm and didn't ask Matt Strahm when he yanked Taijuan Walker to go get that 3rd of an inning in the 6th and then go maybe for a follow. So 1 1/3. I would have asked Matt Strom to go 1 1/3 and complete the task. Instead, he goes to Gregory Soto. But once again, it goes back to show me an example of a manager over 162. Go focus on every manager's decision in every single game, every bullpen move, and show me someone that has a higher hit rate than what Rob has done. Every manager will once in a while do something wrong. They will make a mistake. But if you're not making mistakes 95% of the time, then you got the manager. You know, one of the things that was brought up was that Rob Thomson is too old school. And this is from an older gentleman. I told you, my eardrums, I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. I thought my brain was going to be just blowing up in my head. We need more of a new school guy. He's too old school, going off gut feel and not giving us enough of actual statistical data on his decision making. Okay. So then I said, this stuff, it's crazy. People are crazy. I said, okay, do you want Kevin Cash? If Blake Snell was throwing a no-hitter, he said, I want new school. Quote, I want a new school manager. Rob's too old school. From an older man. Very baffling to hear this. But fine, if you like the Tampa Bay Rays mindset, I don't have an issue with that at all. I'm okay with it. Just stand by it. And he goes, no, you can't yet. Well, hold on. What the Rays do is new school. So if you don't like what Rob does and you don't like what the Rays do, then what do you want? Gabe Kapler? Gabe Kapler was here. Gabe Kapler is probably some mix between both of them. Would you want to relive the Gabe Kapler experience? Because I'll tell you for fucking free, I don't want anything to do with that man close to my organization. Go take your little thirst traps on TikTok and shove it up your ass, because I think it's pathetic. So in what world, dude? What's the expectation of Rob Thomson? I'm not saying he's above criticism. I ripped him for making the decision of going to Gregory Soto. And somebody actually brought this up in the comment section here on YouTube, and I'll give them a lot of credit because I never really thought about it. But, or was this one on Twitter? Oh, I'm sorry. This was Gary on Twitter. There was something else that was mentioned on the YouTube comments that I'll get to momentarily. But Gary says, hey, Brodes, I think there was an effort for Rob Thomson to get as many guys into the series as he could, which is why maybe he would go to Soto to try and get an out. And then when you go to Strom, then both of them get action. And maybe why he even pinch ran for JT Realmuto with Garrett Stubbs. And I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it. And I don't love that decision. I don't like every decision Rob makes. I criticize him heavily in the moment, especially, as I alluded to open the show, 25, 30, 45 minutes after the game. That's why I love what I do here on Brodes Media, because I get an opportunity to just let it fly. I get a chance to get it all out of my chest, and then I move on afterwards. Sometimes I can't move on because it hits me that hard, but majority of the time I do, believe it or not. Believe it or not, I do, I think. As I'm saying that out loud, it kind of sounds silly, but I think. Except for when it's Nick Sirianni. That's going to be stuck in my head forever. But my point is, there's a difference between not liking the manager's decision and thinking that there was a better option and feeling that maybe he shot the team in the foot and this guy can't manage. Because there's no such thing as a manager that hits the nail on the head every time. And I had this debate with people a bunch about, can you make the right decision and get the wrong result? And the answer is yes. There's times where I like what Rob did prior to seeing the result. It makes sense to use this pitcher against that part of the lineup. It makes sense to go to, for example, if Matt Strom failed, he didn't go to Soto, right? Walk through this with me. He goes to Strom instead of Soto. I love that decision. What if Matt Strom allowed a couple runs? It's the wrong result. It was poor execution. It's unfortunate. Strom has been rolling forever now. Dude is playing at an all-star lights-out level. Right decision, unfortunate result. That happens with Rob too. So don't forget that. Now, Johnny says, this is where Rob Thompson did the unthinkable. This is my next worst Phillies takes. Taking out Taijuan Walker, it changed the course of the game. And you think that this guy is ready to manage a World Series? Hold on a second. So now pulling Taijuan Walker is a bad decision. A few starts ago, Rob Thompson's dumb for keeping him in too long. Now he actually picks the correct time to get him out of the game. And now Taijuan deserved the chance to get himself out of that? Once again, I just feel like that's based off the result more than it is the actual decision. Good time to remove Taijuan. I don't care where the pitch count is for him. Each person is different, and there's been times with Christopher Sanchez where I see 79, and I'd say it's not time to pull him yet. I'd see Aaron Nola at 86, not time to pull him yet. Taijuan Walker right now is a totally different experience. Now, if Rob did it just strictly to try and get somebody time, that would be annoying because, well, quite frankly, this is about getting wins, and it's not about making you feel good at the same time. And, it's different about how I feel about it. I'm not talking about how I feel about it. The clubhouse loves this man. And if he did make decisions to get people in, just to get people in after making the trip and flying and giving them a chance, forget how I feel. Forget how you feel. Forget how your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle. Forget about how anybody feels outside of that clubhouse. The reason why he gets the respect in this clubhouse that he does is because of his relationship with his players, and they love that stuff. So I don't love it, but they love it. And they matter more than I do in this circumstance. Just saying. The we need a real closer thing, that also bothers me. I've been through this. This era of baseball is different. I keep hearing about names. Go get a closer with a name. You had that. Craig Kimbrell. You can't get more of a name and saves than Craig Kimbrell. Chapman. You want Chapman? Do I want Miller from Oakland? Yeah, that's a bullpen arm I would be intrigued by. I think a lot of guys are. I'm not anti bringing in relief help. Just like Schwarber works leading off. Well, we need speed. Game isn't like that anymore. We need small speed, small ball, bunt. Game isn't played like that anymore. That defined every single time, no doubt about it, a no-brainer, a full-on lock. It's a given closer no matter what role. It doesn't exist for the most part. Those guys are old and beat up with a lot of innings pitched. Doesn't mean it's impossible to succeed. I heard the name Jensen being popped up just as a hot discussion that was thrown around a little bit. And would I be interested in Kenley Jansen? Let's take a look at what his numbers are right now. And before I even see it, my answer would be, yeah, I'm not against any help in the bullpen. And if you do go that route, I'm not against it. I'm also not like screaming so much that saliva is now flying out of my mouth. They could win with the current build. But if you want to get help and get an experienced guy, by all means, that's fine. That's why I didn't despise Craig Kimbrell as much as everyone else despised Craig Kimbrell, because I'm cool with that. I got no problem with it. My point is there's just not as many of them out there as you deem there are. Okay, so he had 4 saves, then he blew a save, and then he's gotten 4 saves since then. 5 saves since then. So 4, and then blew a save, 5, and now he's on a nice run. But isn't that similar to what I was saying before about how that's what happens here? What you can't do is after he blows a save, react as if he has no idea how to pitch anymore. But for some reason with Jose Alvarado, that's the narrative. I don't know. It's very bizarre to me. So here's more, man. I mean, it just continues to go on and on. Bryce is so selfish. That soccer goal was only to sell his own brand. That soccer goal celebration of him diving on his knees. Bryce Harper is a showman. There's no doubt about it. But now that Bryce Harper has been here for a long period of time, I see what he is. And I'd say maybe a year or two in, I thought he was just pandering to the fans and he'd be hyping it all up and just being obnoxious with this over love and whatnot. And even at times, I would label it personally corny, but I don't know if I'm necessarily the demographic for me to be hit. I don't know. You know, like, I love Bryce Harper to death, but there's no doubt about it. Sometimes he goes overboard with the Philly fanatic stuff and the love for the city. He expresses it so much that it almost feels faulty. For example, there was somebody in our family circle, I'd say there was a new boyfriend involved. I'll put it to you this way. There was a new boyfriend involved, and all he would constantly do whenever food was made and we were at a family party, he'd go, "Oh my God, this is so good." And he'd be eating the pasta. "Oh my God, you should be a chef. This is amazing." And then the next thing, "Oh my God, this rice, the seasoning." It's like, all right, dude, like, do you even mean it? Right? So same applies to this Bryce Harper stuff. The fanatic, I love this city, you guys are the best, there's nowhere else I'd rather be, and this and that, and just so much overlove that doesn't even feel organic anymore. But now that we're so many years into this, this is generally who he is. Nick Sirianni. I don't agree with his antics. I don't agree on how he carries himself. Is it a shtick? Is it just to be funny? Is it who he is? And now that we got enough of a sample size, it's who he is. For the takeaway to be that you watched him slide into the dugout and have that celebration that he's been thinking about probably since the whole trip was mentioned, and since it was sort of in the schedule. If I go yard, or maybe if it's a single but it's a walk-off single in the 9th inning, I am going to react and put together this awesome celebration. But doesn't that apply to all athletes? I mean, Patrick Kane scores a goal, he's going to celebrate. Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, they score goals, they're going on one knee and fist pumping. A.J. Brown scores a touchdown, he's going to do a little Joey Tribbiani dance. It's just what it is. That's sports. Now, unfortunately, in the NBA, you throw down a slam and you try and flex, you're going to get teed up. But if you could, I bet you that they do some sort of dead. Joel Embiid takes his arms and does the DX suck it. Celebrating? You think Bryce Harper is so selfish that instead of this highly competitive dude, this highly competitive guy that shows up in essentially every single big moment in a sport that most people fail, your takeaway is he's only worried about his brand? Don't you think Bryce Harper's brand's already built? I just think he plays. I just think he attacks the diamond one way. He's only got one mode. He's only got one sense of urgency, or one just urgency in general. It's like one sense. I don't know. I'm trying to make that work. The point is, the guy goes out there and goes full throttle all the time and just loves the game so damn much that he plays it that way, and whatever comes of it, comes of it. Do you really think that Bryce Harper, after hitting the home run to tie the game up 1-1, thought to himself as he was trotting the bases, jersey sales? Yeah, jersey sales. As if he needs more? As if people who are in London and people who are in other countries and watch baseball don't know who Bryce Harper is? So these are the type of stuff that I had to deal with. There's more. We should sell the farm for Luis Robert because Rojas stinks. I'm not selling the farm for Luis Robert. I think he's a good player. A lot of injuries. I don't care that Chicago's looking for a package similar to Juan Soto and the Padres and that. Are you kidding me? I'm not giving up Aiden Miller. I'm not giving up Andrew Painter. Sure, I'll talk about some others, but no. I'm not selling the house and selling the farm for Luis Robert. And I like him. I think he's good. You look at last season, he's a bit banged up right now, but he's banged up. That's a part of it. It reminds me of, who is it out in, not Seattle. I made that mistake before. It is Minnesota. It is Braxton, right? Or Buxton. I'm sorry, Buxton. It's Buxton, right? Am I losing my mind? It's Byron Buxton. Yeah, same applies in years past. The injuries, this and that. Is it worth it? I'm not telling you they're the same exact player. I'm telling you more along the lines of the injury stuff being real and all. So that's one. Garrett Stubbs needs to be suspended. That's one. Nick doesn't do anything. Well, saw a walk-off. I saw 6 extra base hits. I'm just going off the top of my head. Maybe 7 extra base hits over the last week or so, including a couple of home runs. I'm not going all in on the Nick Castellanos experience, saying I'm putting my mortgage down on him. I'm telling you, similar to, okay, if a relief pitcher was failing 9 times in a row, then by all means, the 10th time it happens, then be angry. If somebody has 6 saves in a row and then they blow the next opportunity, now's not the time to mention that they can't play. Well, right now, Nick and the shattered bat that resulted in a double play, right now, he's equivalent of 6 saves in a row. So this would be the blown save, if you will, even though I look at it more as a bat shattered in half. I don't know what could have happened if he hit that pit. Maybe it could have been poked into right field, or it could have went into right center field. I don't know. I don't know. The bat's shattered. And the catcher made an absurd play. Oh, the list goes on and on and on. But anyway, hey, I'll stop yapping. Let's take a couple anytime hotline calls from the weekend, and we'll react.
Yo, Brodes. I'm going to preface my comments by saying I'm not panicking, right? It's one game in June. I get it. I fucking hate the Mets, though, and I want to crush their fucking souls every time. But that last at-bat by Casty, man, like, that's why I sometimes complain and cringe at, like, he never sees a pitch he doesn't like. Like, I just would like for him to be a little bit more patient. I know it's not in his nature. I know he's an aggressive, see ball, hit ball kind of guy. But, like, in those situations, come October, I'm hoping, somebody's having a conversation, or maybe it's him with himself, like, hey, be a little bit more patient, find, like, an actual good pitch, get a good swing on it. Because that would have been massive. But either way, good series over there in London. Fuck the Mets, go Phils.
I love it. Fuck the Mets is right. I'm just speaking from gut feel, but honestly, I do think they tried that. And I don't know if they got the results they were looking for. Maybe you could make the argument they didn't give it a long enough time. Maybe they pulled the cord too early on the approach. And, look at it. Right now, they're 60-something games into the season? And they pulled the plug on the philosophy maybe, a month ago or so, if not even longer than that. So if you're giving a baseball player 30 games to try something out, is that enough of a sample size when we're talking about so many games? Maybe not. But I'm looking here at his counts. First pitch, he hits 354. That's this year. So selective hitting, this and that. People were angry at him swinging at the first pitch in that final at-bat in the 9th inning. He hits 354 on first pitches this season with a 1013 OPS. In a 1-0 count, he hits 273. In a 2-0 count, he hits 500. It shows you, though, he doesn't have that many opportunities to be 2-0. That's pretty funny. He's got 4 at-bats where he's been 2-0 because it shows that he starts hacking at him. Oh, man, that's pretty crazy. He's had 2 plate appearances where he's been 3-0. 0-1. He hits 379 on 0-1 counts. He hits 316 on a 1-1 count. Things start to dip after that. Big time. 1-2 counts, which I'm sure, he's in a lot of those. 40 at-bats. He's in a lot of those. Hits 100. 2-2 counts, he hits 063. When he has 2 strikes on him, it's not good. So I guess, I'm like I said, I'm just kind of walking this thing out loud here, but when it's early in the count and he doesn't have 2 strikes on him, that's when he needs to pounce. So if he's patient and he doesn't swing yet, maybe he's going down a bad path if he waits. You know what I'm saying? This is interesting. All right, sorry, I'm getting a little sidetracked with his numbers, but yeah, If he's patient and he falls behind without taking any hacks, then maybe he felt he missed that opportunity to take those hacks. I'm just trying to figure out why and what the numbers tell us. That's all. Let's take another one.
That might have been the worst loss the Phillies have had this year. It's just unfortunate that you kind of blow up the way that you did in the later innings when you put out your bullpen and that you can't score when you have the bases loaded. But I do have to come in and say that people are way overreacting about whenever the Phillies lose in a game like this.
Yes.
I've just watched Jose Alvarado have dominant outings this year, and he has one blow-up overseas, and now everybody's completely down on him and acting like he's a bum. I know that the Phillies crowd can be a little bit split, depending on if the fan base roots for the other Philadelphia teams or not. But, like, just because we've seen heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak in this city does not mean that this team should feel the wrath of that. This is a good baseball team. I want to put that. And if you're comparing them to, the Eagles who started off hot, don't you ever compare this team to the 2023 Eagles that fell apart. I don't really have anything much to say other than this loss is going to suck for 2 days, and they got to make sure that they got to hope that the Braves can lose some of these games so that they don't lose too much ground.
They're not losing too much ground. Don't you worry about it. That's a great call, by the way. Very good call. I'm with you. This team is not the same as the Eagles. When we watched the Eagles, we wondered if that was sustainable. When I watch this team, I'm not worried about sustainable. They win in so many different ways that are real. Okay, they can sweep a team scoring 7 runs because their starting pitching's real. Rangers real. Nola's real. Wheeler's real. Okay, I mean, that's what it is. Their bullpen is real. And unfortunately, in this sport, I hate to break it to you, when you have a real bullpen, sometimes they do blow a save. But your Braves, the last 40 games for you Atlanta people, 18-22. They're 4 games under 500. The Phillies are 30-10. 30-10. It's comedy. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. I greatly appreciate all your support. Thank you guys all so much for kicking it, and I'll see you on the next one.